The carnage.
Congressman Louie Gohmert joins us live now with more on this. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you. It was hard to sit through 10 hours or so listening to Democrats say that we were as bad as the shooter. We wanted to kill people. It was just so outrageous. The insults. We could successfully sue them for slander if it were not in a government hearing. Just really outrageous. And keep in mind, the people who say it's just fine to, in utero, rip off a baby's arms and legs, crush the baby's head, and then pull them out of the uterus, that's just fine. They want to tell us how to keep kids safe. This is people who want to castrate little boys and cut off the breasts of girls, and they want to tell us how to keep children safe. This is just to sit there for that many hours having them condemn us because we want due process. Their idea, they say, oh, we're giving people due process. We're going to have confiscation without representation. That's basically what they're proposing. They'll give you a due process hearing, but you don't get to be there. And you don't get to have anybody representing you there. It'll just be the people that want to take away the guns. And we saw during the Obama administration that they started having the VA ask veterans, do you write the check to pay your bills? And if you said, oh, my wife or somebody else does, they put that in your records, and they use that as a reason to take away your guns because you're not competent to write your own. This is the kind of red flag stuff. This is what these people are about.
Yeah, and
due process for somebody that was a judge meant you got both parties present and both gets to make their case. That's due process.
Congressman, we're also dealing with, the leftist media and their coverage of the shooting in Tulsa. We do know police now say this shooter targeted the doctor because of pain. Definitely nothing to do with white supremacy here, but it still didn't stop, for example, the Washington Post invoking race. We have this on the screen here. The shooting came on the 101st anniversary of another horrible event in Tulsa when a white mob pillaged a black neighborhood, killing hundreds in one of the worst episodes of racial violence in the nation's history, they write. And then, Congressman, they mix the Tulsa shooting in with the shootings that we saw in Uvalde, Texas, in Buffalo, New York. So you do have this narrative that ends up being very different than the facts that are to be reported when you leave it up to the media.
Right. I'm so glad you pointed that out. That's the Washington Post. That's the liberal media being race baiters. They want to divide America just like Obama, Biden did, like Biden and Harris do now, like the Democrats want to now. They don't want to come together and work together. So we didn't have a chance to have any input in this bill, the confiscation without representation bill, and yet we're supposed to have freedom in this country. These people are wanting to take it away. They're wanting to take care of your children, even though they're okay with mutilation of our children, and they're in charge. It is just really scary what the Democrats are trying to do.
Yeah, the Protecting Our Children Act, or whatever they call it, I mean, this is the definition of gaslighting when we know the most immediate way to protect kids is to get armed guards and harden these schools. But again, they don't want to talk about that. They want to take police out of schools. I got one more question for you on this before we move on. I want to talk to you as well about the DOJ indicting Peter Navarro. But, we had Pete Sessions on here, one of your colleagues, a Republican, yesterday. He seems to be, and some other Republicans seem to be okay with this idea of raising the age to purchase these firearms. Are you okay with that?
Well, since I served 4 years on active duty in the Army, and we ask 18, 19, 20-year-olds to take these weapons of war, which, back then it was an M16, now it's a M4, which is basically an M16 where you can adjust the stock, but and handguns, those were given to 18-year-olds, and they were allowed to use them. Well, Thomas Massey brought up the issue, look, what about not only those that are in the service that have been trained, or those that have had training, been, veterans? Well, they didn't want veterans, but if they're in the service, okay. But we were concerned about the spouses of those who were serving. Shouldn't they be able to have a gun? I know I got a handgun for my wife when she had that while I was in the Army. We were never in combat in my 4 years, but you're sent on temporary duty constantly. So to say, Democrats say, no, we're not going to protect your spouse, but you're going to leave her unprotected, or gee, you're old enough to be asked to go kill people to protect your country, but actually, Chairman Nadler said they're neurologically not.
It does seem like there's a concerted effort
not developed to have guns.
To make sure that the people who don't vote for Democrats don't have access to guns. And a lot of times that means people who are going to enter the military, people who live in rural America, too, that use these guns for hunting. I mean, a lot of people have to take hunter safety, gun safety courses before you can get a hunting license if you're under the age of 18. Right. So there's a whole issue of problems here. But let's talk about Peter Navarro. The DOJ has, in fact, indicted him for contempt of Congress. He also sued the committee. But what do you make of this latest development? Merrick Garland's DOJ actually coming after now Trump administration officials, John, for their failure to comport with this political committee.
Yep. It actually puts an exclamation point on the fact that we have a two-tier justice system. If you're a Republican, you can't even lie to Congress or lie to an FBI agent, or they're coming after you. They're going to bury you. They're going to put you in the D.C. jail and terrorize and torture you and not live up to the Constitution there. However, this comes on the heels of Sussman being acquitted because the jury that had a bunch of Hillary Clinton lovers in it, donors even, they said, look, he's a Democrat, and of course they're going to lie. Everybody lies.
Well, how about that jury foreperson? No big deal to lie to the FBI, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, but so this puts an exclamation point. Democrats can lie. They can fail to show up for Congress. They can lie to Congress like Brennan Clapper did, and no consequences. We had referrals. Devin Nunes had referrals for criminal action that nothing was ever done. So it's very clear. If you're a Democrat, then you can lie, you can cheat, you can do whatever you want. You can advocate for castrating children or cutting off breasts, and you're wonderful. We want you in charge. But if you're a Republican and you say this is not due process, this is a goat rope, and I am not going to be part of that, then we're going to put you in jail. That is very clear. But we have got to get some resonance out of the Supreme Court that this failure of due process has got to stop. It's got to stop, or this little experiment in self-government can't go on much longer until we do that.
A lot of people feeling the same way. Congressman Louie Gohmert, we appreciate your time today and your reaction again to that breaking news on Peter Navarro being indicted by the DOJ. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
A lot of